Hello, good friends. It's me, Caustic Phoenix, your host for Pink Pixels, and I am so happy to be here. And when I say here, as a small little disclaimer here, this is a recording, but that doesn't mean the conversations we're having are any less important. This actually gives us a chance to pull in some friends who may not be in the same time zone as us and can hit our normal time. So we did this much earlier at 9 a.m. Eastern, so that way we can record it for you and you can enjoy it in the afternoon, after work, or on your drive home. So enjoy the conversation. You'll still see me in chat. I'm going to throw up some emotes right now. Yep, that's me. And of course, we're going to be here always engaging in conversation. And just because this is a recording doesn't mean that our voices don't matter. So I encourage you, as we listen through and we get into an amazing conversation today, feel free, please offer your commentary, share your experiences, because even in conversations that we have in chat, it's not a sideline space. It's a space where we create community. It is just as important to the experiences that we're creating here with the gamers. So I encourage you, please still say hello. It's so exciting because every week we do get to have great voices here, and being able to feed that machine where we pull in inspiration, where we pull in experience, where we pull in perspectives, makes our life better. And so I'm so glad that we're here and that we get to pull in that variety, because it makes our lives so much richer for it. Now, I've done enough talking today, so we're going to turn it over and bring in our amazing guest. I can't wait to introduce her. So you know what? Let's just toss it over. Matilda, please come say hello to us. Say hi to our guests.
Hey, hi everyone. It's me, Matilda, and I'm a voice actor and a Twitch streamer and a YouTuber, and you probably know me as Brigitte from Overwatch 1 and 2. That's what I'm most known for.
I think that's amazing. Just most known for. I feel like that's like a small disclaimer you have to say, like, I've done other things, but you've probably heard me here. So I think this is amazing. So voice acting is something I think a lot of people look at and go, I want to do that. How did you get into it? Because that's like the first mystery, right?
Yeah, that is, I mean, it's quite a mystery for most people. Most people have a weird story on how they got into it. Like most people have a story where it's like they were doing something else and they got pulled into a studio and all of a sudden they were in a new business and that's what they do now. I was 6 and my parents are voice actors. So I started as a child. So I didn't really, I wasn't even old enough to go, oh, I want to do that. Let me do that. Or, oh, I was doing something else and they just pulled me in. I was a child of a voice actor and they were like, oh, she's been in the studio. She understands what it's all about. And so it started from there. So I'm kind of a Nepo baby. I usually say that.
But I appreciate you recognizing that, like, I had some insight on how to do this industry.
Oh, yeah. And it took me so many years to not be ashamed of that. It took me so many people saying like, that's how it is for most people. Like most people go into whatever their parents are doing. But I've always been like, oh God, I'm such an Nepo baby. I just got this handed to me. But you do have to work hard to like keep the job. You can't just glide on being someone's daughter. So I feel pride in that. But whenever someone asks me how I got into the business, I'm like, yeah, I'm a Nepo baby. I'm a Nepo baby. What can I say?
But it's so important to recognize that, because when people go like, well, how do they do that? And we keep it a mystery and we ignore like the unique opportunities we have, that can make the experience very frustrating for others. And I get that challenge, right? When we're saying like, I have to own this, because that really kind of falls in line with a lot of conversations we all have with identity of like, what parts of ourselves and the story do we want to own, and how do we come to terms and fit it in comfortably in our lives?
Yeah, for sure. And it's always like, I mean, a lot of people ask for like tips on how to get into the business. And I've always been like, I have a parent that does it. Like that was my way. And there are so many better people who have like seen the business being like, I want to be a part of that. And they've gotten to be a part of that eventually. So those are the people to ask. I'm just not that person, but I don't have the same answers as anyone else.
But I think this is still important, right? Because when people ask, I think it's good to have that truthfulness, because you're right. when we hear of certain careers, especially things like voice acting, there's not a traditional pathway. Like you don't often go like,
No,
I'm getting a degree in voice acting and it will lead me
no.
specifically to these studios who are going to these schools to,
Yeah.
search for
Yeah.
talent.
You have to like fight your way in, like it claws out and everything. And I think it's a really hard business to get into, but it's
Yes.
definitely not impossible.
Mhm.
And I think especially in the US, it's such a big business that I feel like maybe based on geographically, if you're like somewhere where there are studios, it's of
Mhm.
course easier. But a lot of people do stuff from home now, and you can send in voice tests from anywhere. Like I've gotten voice tests for US stuff because I have a microphone
Yeah.
and I could just use that and record at home.
Mhm.
Not saying everyone has a good enough microphone, but like a lot of voice tests are even like you can record them with your phone and they're okay with that.
Yes.
Um, so I think anyone can do it, but it is tough to like to get all the way in and to become like established.
Mhm.
And I think even for someone like me who's I know I don't want to say I know everyone, but I know almost
Yeah.
everyone here in Sweden
Mhm.
in voice acting. Maybe they don't know me, but I know them.
Yeah. Yeah. You have
And
the
a lot of
connections.
them exactly. A lot of them know me as well.
Mhm.
But I still have to work hard, and you know, you get forgotten, and you have to keep contacting them, saying like, "Hi, I'm very available right now.
Yeah.
I miss you. Take me back." It's like you're an ex
Yeah.
coming back
Hello.
to hello, I miss you. Like
Can we
I've been
work
thinking about
together
that.
again?
Yeah. That's sort of what it feels like. You're coming back to like, hey, have you forgotten about me? Do you
Mhm.
remember last time when we worked together? Wasn't that fun? Let's do that again.
But that's
Um,
that's the challenge of like almost any kind of contract style work is that you have to
yeah,
constantly put yourself out there to be top of mind for others. Be like, "Hey,
yeah,
remember I'm still here. I'm not taking a small little break or doing something else. Like put me back into the game, coach."
yeah. And what's crazy is when Overwatch came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, so you have so much work now. Like
Yeah.
you must be called all the time." But the thing is, all the Swedish studios, they were like, "Oh, she's like a she's like a worldwide celebrity now, so she doesn't have time for us."
Oh
So
no.
they didn't call me. So I didn't get cast on anything. I barely had anything to do. Like I had this weird life where I went to a convention or I went to like BlizzCon
Mhm.
and I was like treated as a celebrity, and you know, you people are crazy and they flock around you, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then you come home and it's like, oh, I'm just sitting in my apartment
Mhm.
in Stockholm and no one's calling me.
Ah,
Have I done something wrong? Every time I got like a small job, I got into the studio and they were like, hey, hey, worldwide celebrity, hey. And I'm like,
oh.
I'm doing nothing. I'm
Yeah.
like out of work. I am not, please.
Yes. It was it
I
was a
don't do
gig.
anything.
One thing.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
gig. I did the gig. And it's out there and we add some stuff, sure. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, that was actually absolutely crazy. And that actually taught me that I do need to like call, text,
Mhm.
remind them. And it's not something personal because for a while when I was younger, I could like think that I was bad at my job. I would take
Mhm.
it personally. I would be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, has everyone lied to me all my life? Have they said that I'm good, but I'm not good?
Mhm.
Am I actually like a nepo baby that's just like coasting?" Like, you know, all these weird thoughts that you get from self-doubt or like just and then you talk to some of the people who cast, like the engineers usually,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, you must have jobs all the time." And it's like, "What?
Don't assume.
No,
Just
I
come talk
don't.
to me.
Cast me. What are you talking about?" They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I thought you were super busy," or like, "Oh, I thought you were here all the time. I didn't want to add something because we don't want to cast an actor too many times in too many things." I was like, I'm nothing. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
So you do have to be very like you have to be very confident to like push, and that's really hard, especially being Swedish. It's like not in our culture
Yeah.
at all, being pushy or not even confident. Like you can't be confident. That's wrong in Sweden.
How dare you? How dare you understand the skill and talent and experience that you bring and you
Oh yeah.
recognize that?
Ew.
It's
What a stuck up B word.
very unsightly, very
Yeah.
unsightly. But that's I'm glad you're sharing this because it is kind of wild because people will think like, "Oh, you did this big gig. Everyone must be contacting you now." But it's very much almost the reverse process when people are like, "Well, no, they're
Yeah.
too busy or their voice is now heard too big or they're going to be traveling all the time." And
Yeah.
people create stories for you that close doors when you are ready and willing to walk through them.
Yeah. It's super crazy. I'd never realized that was the case. And I think I've done the same with people
Mhm.
that, they get something big, or they I don't even know what it can be, but just they step up in life and you're like, oh, okay, so they're over there now and I'm still here. So we're not, but it, essentially they've just like elevated themselves, but they're still,
Mhm.
it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's a very crazy experience. And it's weird having to remind people of your existence, but
Yes.
it's a part of the job
And I
now.
I think that's
I think.
important to call out, right? Because that's difficult. And I'll be honest, like I don't know if I have the emotional constitution to put through something like that. Right? Like to
No, but
you
you
learn.
learn, you
That's fair.
adapt. It doesn't come naturally to me. It feels wrong to be like, hey, how y'all doing?
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you wanna cast me? um but then you realize that, but you get jobs if you do that, and if you
Yes.
don't do it, it might take longer to get a
Mhm.
job. So I don't know, it's just, I think after a while you just have to,
Mhm.
I don't know, therapy helps as well
That's
to
a good point.
to do
Yes.
that.
It all comes together. But you're right. How important it is just to put ourselves out there to say, I'm wanting to work with you. I have this ability. Because if we keep it a secret,
Yeah.
no one's going to know that we're available or that we're even considering something like this, you know? Like, oh, they would never think of our project. Be like, no, I would definitely do a project like that. Like, pull me in. Is
Yeah.
you have to constantly tell people what you want. Because if they don't know to pull you in. That's the hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird trying to, or it's hard to not doubt yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to like uh, you don't want to think that you're better than you are, and it's scary to be like,
Mm.
hey, I actually want to do this thing and I think I'm good at this and this and this, so you should get me for that. And then you have to actually do that. You have to do those
Yeah.
things on the level that you've talked about yourself. So it's a hard thing to do, but it's yeah, it feels like I'm on the other side of it, so I can't even remember like how I got to this point of not being that ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember just a couple of years ago, I really didn't have this confidence at all. I was very much like, oh, whatever, I don't do anything, I don't even know. Anyone could voice act. Anyone could sit behind a microphone. I'm just talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I just feel like actually it's something that I've worked for my entire life. And I see it almost as a sport. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to do it like efficiently, but also good, because it's a business where it's kind of like most things need to be done fast. There's not a lot of time or creative decisions. Most of the decisions are done for you, and you just have to perform quickly. But you also want to
Mm-hmm.
do it good, because children are watching this, and you want it to not be crappy.
Right. It needs to be
um,
something that resonates. And if it's terrible quality or it's hard to hear what they're saying, it loses its value. It really
yeah,
does.
and if you don't give a shit about it, if you just do it half-heartedly,
Mm-hmm.
um people can tell, and the kids can tell, and it's not even fun. Like, it's fun to do it wholeheartedly. That's the fun thing about it.
Right.
It's like that's what makes it fun.
Mhm.
If I didn't do that, I could just go in and I could do it on autopilot, and it would be all right. Like, but where's the fun in that? I have the best job in the entire world,
Where you get to bring
and
to life so
so
many cool individuals and characters and stories and
yeah,
amazing projects. Yeah.
it's really cool. It's the best job in the entire world. I'm like, I'm grateful daily that I have the job I have and the freedom that comes with it. And I mean, it's not all easy, but
Right.
it's so much fun not doing what a lot of people see as the only option.
Yeah.
I always try to tell people like that there are other options, and like work isn't everything, and you shouldn't just work to live. I mean, that's also like a privilege thing. Of course, you need to have money and to take care of yourself, take care of your family. If you have that, you need somewhere to stay. But like, I think there are ways to make life more fun and not just see work as something boring. So either you have a boring job and you make it fun, or you get a fun job and there are some consequences with it, but you also have a good time. I don't know,
Yeah.
with what you spend most of your time on.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. Like there's that balance because there's people look at what they might identify what you have as a fun job. And it is, right? Like
Yeah.
we're very blunt about that. We're not hiding like, no, there, this is really, I'm
Well,
looking at
it's not
Excel
true.
sheets every day. Though no hate to anyone who loves Excel sheets. You are precious, amazing, and a unicorn, and everyone wants you because it's such a rare thing. But
Yes.
right. But it is hard in recognizing to tell people like how they look at the job and like I want something fun like that and I hate where I am. But there's challenges in recognizing a job and what we want to do has to be taken in context of where we are in life, the skills that we have, the accessibility, and part of that is privilege and what we
Yeah.
can and feel like we can open those doors for. But you're right to say, and hopefully that people can eventually find themselves in a career where it is fulfilling for them, whether it helps them fulfill what they want to do outside of work or the job itself is fulfilling. That's always a tough balance as we look at people, especially with the disparity that we have across the world. Now, I want to call something out because I'm so glad you said that. Like, it's not just turning on a microphone and talking. A lot of people might simplify it. It's the same way they might say, like, oh, well, Twitch is you just turn on your camera and you play some games and therefore you're
Oh
successful,
yeah.
right? Like, there's so much more
Yeah.
behind it. And with voice acting, there's so much more beyond just having a microphone and doing a silly little voice, which is kind of demeaning to only refer to it as only silly little voices, right? What does it
Yeah.
take? Like, let's break down some of these misconceptions of like, well, this is easy because doing it well, I mean, doing it is one thing, but doing it well takes talent, it takes skill, it takes experience.
Yeah. And the experience part is the hardest part, but for sure it's but like I understand if the people don't have a full grasp of the like what you do in the studio. Like I understand that fully
Mm-hmm.
because I did too, and I was in the studio like up until the age of 17, 18 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, if this is something anyone could do, I genuinely thought so. I was just standing in front of a mic and speaking.
Yeah.
And then I started working at a dubbing studio with the booking department. So I was booking the actors. I was calling them, "Hi, you have 2 hours for this show. Can you come in this date and this time?"
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I did not have a lot of free time, but I was, as what I said earlier, I was I wanted to make my job fun.
Yeah.
So I wasn't just going to sit behind the desk. So I went into the studio and I watched some of my colleagues work because I wanted to know what show it was that I was booking. I wanted to know what I was calling people in for.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they asked and I had no idea. And that felt unprofessional. So obviously I had to sit in a studio and just watch people
Mm-hmm.
do cartoons. But that made me realize that it's not just talking in front of a mic. Like
Mm.
what you do when you're in there, especially with dubbing,
Cool.
you have to mimic someone else's movements, pauses, tones, the dynamic of it. Are they speaking loudly or quietly? Um, you have to do that, and you listen to the. It's usually from English to Swedish.
Hmm.
You listen to the English in Sweden. That is not.
Yeah.
It's not from English to Swedish in other countries. But you listen to the English at the same time as you're speaking. So I can hear the English. I hear where they are, and I know where I am, so I can like adjust the tempo of the sentence. If I notice that the sentence is going to be a little bit shorter, I add a word like that. Like I don't even think, it just happens. Or you add a little or something. It sounds weird, but it works a lot of time. If you have more than one
Hmm.
syllable or an extra syllable at the end, it
Yes.
really works to just do a that at the end. I don't know what it is. It
I
does it.
can I can imagine it in
Um,
a lot of animes. I recall hearing that sound quite a bit, so I think
yeah.
that checks.
Yeah. So it's but it's like that's why I see it like a sport, because it's like, oh, this is a skill that I'm like getting
Yes.
better and better at. And I was so bad when I was younger. I was a nepo baby. I was not good. I think a lot of people say, I don't want to be like everyone else think I'm good, but I don't think I'm good. But
Hmm.
I genuinely don't think I was good, and people thought I was, and that's great for them. But I thought and just looking back now, wow,
Yeah.
I was so bad. I didn't care. I just did the thing, and after working at the booking department, seeing all my colleagues, seeing what they do,
Yeah.
like the little tricks that I do without even thinking of it, I just realized, oh, this is a cool thing. And I started watching all the shows that I was on, and I started like just actually taking accountability for the work that I do. Because if you just do it and then you never watch it,
Hmm.
you never see the end result. So you don't know how to perform better.
Yes.
So I started watching everything, and now I just, it's like a craft that I'm honing. I'm like taking care of the skill, like how can I be better, like, oh, I felt this way in the studio, and then when I watched it, it sounded like this, so maybe I should do it like this next time. Or yeah. But it is really hard. It's actually hard. And dubbing, I
Yes.
would say, is the hardest, like out of all of them.
Well,
Dubbing is so much harder. Voice acting is hard in its own way, because you are the original, and you have to create everything, and you have to understand the context without having the context in front of you.
hmm.
Usually when you dub, you see what's happening. You can hear in the tone of voice like, oh, they're really sad now. So I understand that that's the feeling that I should do.
Yeah.
When you do voice acting, you might not even know. Like I played Overwatch, so I knew most of the context for the lines, but
That helps a
most of
little
the
bit.
actors in Overwatch, yeah, that has a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's not even all the way there.
Hmm.
Um, so I think dubbing is the hardest, and then you have voice acting, which is still hard because you have to create and feel things and like, yeah, create things in your head that aren't
Yes.
there.
Well, even harder if you're
And then
dialoguing and you don't hear the other person, how the other voice
yes,
actor is bringing it to life, and how suddenly you're escalating and they're going down. And it's like, oh, we got to re-record. Somebody has to
yeah,
re-record to match the other, right? So there's a lot more
yeah.
organization to make sure, because so much of it is separated.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think Blizzard are doing it pretty well, where they have someone at this, like at Blizzard, recording the other voice line that you're responding to.
Hmm.
So you have at least something, but it's still not the real thing. It's still not like if Brig and Reinhardt are talking to each other,
Hmm.
I'm not hearing Darren. I'm not hearing his like that voice.
It's exactly
Um
it.
yeah. So that's what he sounds like to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not hearing exactly how he would do it, and he's not hearing exactly how I would do it. I don't think I've ever heard
Mhm.
the actual person
Wow.
on the other end of the like a conversation in there.
That's kind of
I
wild.
think.
Yeah, like just how
I think.
disconnected this is, and how Blizzard or whatever studio it is has to take all these voices and then mix them in together to make it sound like we're all in the same place. This scene was all shot together, as if they said one
Yeah.
line right after another together in this space. That's
Yeah.
That sounds like herding cats. I don't know. That sounds like it would be difficult to make sure because you really have to have someone in that studio with a clear vision of the tone and to be able to help guide each individual voice in that same direction.
Yeah, and I think with productions like Overwatch or anything big like that, you
Hmm.
definitely have that. Like you have the script writers in the call, and you have the director there,
Hmm.
and then you have the engineer that have sat with almost all the recordings. So you have like several people who have this overall perspective, so that an actor can come in and get explained what they don't understand. With dubbing, in Sweden at least,
Hmm.
you very rarely there is a director, and very rarely the engineer who's being both engineer and director have seen the show, have understood the show.
It's a mystery.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's not their show. It's just a show that any engineer comes in and does. It's just a freelancing gig. So any engineer can come in and do it. So you're saying they're like, oh, so is this my character's mom? Or and they're like, I have no clue. I have no idea. So it's crazy. Like with Blizzard, you get everything explained to you.
Hmm.
There's no questions for me at the end of the session. But with dubbing, sometimes you go in and you have no idea who you're responding to. They're talking about like they have lingo for that show that you don't know. Is it supposed to be translated?
Oh,
Is it
gosh.
supposed to be the original? Like there's so many things that are unclear,
Hmm.
and which also makes it more of a sport because you have to get really good at like
How do
figuring
we
out the
think they're gonna
context.
say this weird thing that is unique to theirs? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like an easy one would be like even Pokemon. Like, if you're dubbing for Pokemon, like, am I saying this Pokemon's name right? Is
Oh
this
yeah.
Pikachu?
Thankfully, we have the Swedish engineer that does Pokemon has done Pokemon, I think all the seasons pretty much.
Okay,
They
good.
even had a party, the Swedish voice of Ash and the engineer that has done like most of it. Like
Okay.
so thankfully for that, but most things no. Most things don't. Um Most things don't even have anything close to a person understanding the context for everything.
So do they come in,
That's
especially with
nice.
like names, like character names? Is there at least like a phonetic spelling that comes with it to help make sure that's said correctly? Like I assume they don't just say, here's a script only, but at least there's some emotional notes. There might be some pronunciation notes.
Yeah, so sometimes you record if there's like a new show or a new character that's presented and you say their name.
Hmm.
You're the first one to say their name. You can record it. So if there was a character named Caustic Phoenix
Yeah.
and I say like, look out, Caustic Phoenix, they'd be like, oh, we need to add this to the list. So they're like, okay, go. And then I do Caustic Phoenix. Caustic Phoenix. And then we have that in a little folder. Um,
As
but
a
I would say
reference.
most of the
Okay.
shows don't have that because you have so short time, so you need to
Yeah.
just do the thing and hope that it's correct. Hope that you're emphasizing the right part of the sentence.
Hmm.
Hope that you're pronouncing this thing right, this planet, this language. Like there's so many things.
Are there fun moments
Yeah.
where you just like where they say like speaks in a different like or like an alien language and you're playing an alien? Like, do you just get to have fun with moments like that where you just make up whatever you want?
Girl, they do that with like other languages. Like
What?
one time in a script, it just says speaks Russian. What am I to do with that? How do I?
They just put
I
on
can't.
find some Russian words to say right now.
Yeah. So you listen to the original and then you try to like phonetic. I remember we listened and tried to like write down the phonetics of it, like and then all I said was like da papa da, like something like that, trying to just the only word I knew
Yeah.
in Russian, and the only sentence I know in Russian is krasivaya shopa, which means nice ass, and I can't use that,
I
so
mean,
I had
you
to just
could.
go with oh well. I mean, the kids, the
Yes.
non-Russian kids would have no idea.
Yeah.
But the Swedish Russian kids sitting there eating their cereal would be like spitting it out. But yeah, no, sometimes it's like an alien language, so you could
Yeah.
just have fun with it. Sometimes but the translators are also, they don't have enough time. They don't get
Yes.
enough paid to do it well. They use Google Translate a lot.
Oh,
Now with
oh.
Chat GPT, they're using AI to do it. So it's
Okay.
very like, usually
Wow.
when you go in the studio, the translation isn't good and there's no love in it. And sometimes it's like, do you even look at what's happening on the screen?
Mm.
But this also makes it more of a sport, because then you get better and better at
Yeah.
like live translating, or
Let me
just
rephrase
like the,
this. Yeah.
yeah, like the 3 seconds you have,
Mm-hmm.
because you have something called a pre-roll. So before, or on a script, you have the time code
Yes.
when the line starts,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a pre-roll of 3 seconds, so you
Okay.
get to see the 3 seconds before, and then after those 3 seconds I come in.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't look at the time code or the timestamp. I just listen to when my character starts talking, and then
Go
I
for it.
talk with them. But like usually during these 3 seconds, if you see something that's really weird in the script, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, they're probably trying to say this, because you can see that the next line is about that. And so they would probably emphasize this rather than that word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so cool. And that's all done in like 3 seconds. While you're also watching where they are, like, are they outside and you need to project more? Are they inside so you don't need to project as much with your voice? Like, all that in like 3 seconds, and then you go. Although some actors listen before,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and it's not a choice. That's how I've always done it.
Yeah.
I just go and I listen, and then I
It's your
change.
process.
Yeah.
But it also
But
saves time.
a
Like
lot
at
of
the end of the
actors,
day, right? Like you don't have time to always to listen to it all the way through.
exactly. So it's a
Mm.
sport then, because then I understand. Then you learn how to understand the context, like in milliseconds. You're like, okay, I'm playing this character. Okay, so they're probably the old woman because they're saying this word, and that sounds kind of old timey. Oh, okay, so they're telling that to that person, and they respond with that. So I need to emphasize that word, and I need to I don't know, they're probably screaming or something, or like, oh, they're probably gonna do that. Or you hear in the actual millisecond before you start talking, because you don't always know, you don't start talking like right on it. You're usually like like half a second after, a millisecond or something
Mm-hmm.
after. But then you're ready to scream, and they're talking very quietly. In that short time, you're like, oh, okay, and then you put your voice down. It's a sport. That's what I'm
It
saying.
is a
I'm
sport. I love
so
that this is the
I've
theme
never
throughout.
liked sports ever, and but this is the sport that I love the most, and it's the only sport I'm good at.
You've turned it into a sport. Let's be clear. I don't think I've heard
Yeah,
anyone else describe it as a sport, but you're like, I don't do sports, but this is a sport and I do it
yeah,
well. I
yeah.
love the competitiveness that you put at your own feet for this. I think this
And
is
I'm
just
also only competing with myself, just to make that clear. It's just me.
yes.
I just want to be better than me last time.
Yes.
So
Well, that's
next
why
time
you
I want to
listen to
do it better.
yourself, right? Like after it goes out, you're like, oh, here's what I could do differently. Or that's the emotion that I had. I need to switch
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
I love this. I
Um,
love that you're competitive with yourself.
it's
I but I also imagine like of course of the skills when I'm hearing all this is that you have to have a high emotional intelligence. You have to have a really good understanding of how humans work within spaces. Like some people might think like, yeah, over time, like, okay, if I pull in this clue and this clue and this clue, but you synthesize all this information so quickly to be like, they're outside, so their projection is going to be a little bit louder. All right, I see they're waving their hands, so that probably also impacts that they're boosting out their volume a little bit more there. Because of the quick movement,
yeah.
it might sound a little bit more frantic as well. Like you're quickly pulling all these in where people may not always be able to recognize immediately that certain behaviors or word choices are tied to particular emotions and thus different vocal deliveries.
That was complicated words. Those last words that you said. It sounded so smart. I was like, yes.
You,
Yeah.
I'm praised.
Whatever you said.
That was
Yes.
phenomenal because you have to have such emotional intelligence to not only know like processing and reading the emotions of others with such few clues. Like sometimes you do just have the script. So not only are you
Yeah.
translating it, but you're determining what the emotional tone is, and then you're figuring out how do I deliver that externally that other people, even if they couldn't see the picture, maybe they're just hearing your voice, that they could understand that same thing. And I think that is so powerful and showcases the intelligence you have in being able to understand humans and how we connect.
Oh my God, thank you.
Like,
Stop.
you're just really good at
Oh
this.
my God. I have emotional intelligence. Thank
Yes,
you.
like so
Um,
high.
don't know what to say, but thank you. And being going on the track that I'm already on, I think so too.
Yes,
Don't want to toot my own horn,
do
but
it.
I think it's learned from doing this from when I was a child.
Mhm.
Because I'm like programmed. I don't remember a time not voice acting. I don't remember a time not dubbing. Specifically dubbing
Yeah.
is like it's just always been there.
Mhm.
So I think I don't know if this is just a theory, but I have some feeling that sometimes I've been watching movies with people
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, this movie's so good," and they think there's like a big twist at the ending, but I've already like
Picked it out.
figured out the ending from the context clues. I don't know. I'm not saying like I'm so much smarter than everyone else, but I think,
Yeah.
or I've just watched really bad movies and my friends are uncultured. I don't know, but
I love it. Throw a little shade at your friends. I hope they're listening.
I don't think it's been good movies, but that's because I think it's obvious what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think there is something in that. I think there is something in that. Like I think you get so good at just understanding context or just like taking so many details in at the same time. Because like what you said with like figuring out if they're projecting their voice or if they're waving at the same time or if they're carrying something, there might be like you do some efforts or you're like carrying something, so you're speaking like you're carrying something heavy, or not even heavy, just like a little ounce of effort in it, while at the same time listening to where they are in the sentence, listening for pauses, listening for tempo, listening for their tone, trying to correct the bad translation, trying to have the melody not sound American, sound Swedish instead, which is very hard. Still working on that one.
Okay, tell me more about that. I have no idea what you mean by that. The melody?
Oh, yeah. So like, so like if I would say like,
Is it like the
in
rhythm in which we
American
speak?
English, or like, yeah, but like saying like, let's go explore. Like we wouldn't say that in Swedish. You would say, let's go explore. Like, let's go.
More down
It's hard.
inflection.
This is hard. Yeah. But usually, especially American English has a very certain way of saying specifically stuff like that. Like, let's go, or coming at ya, like something like that. You wouldn't say it with that melody in Swedish.
Wow. Okay.
You wouldn't say "kom emot dig," like that would sound very weird. So you would be like "kom emot dig," like that would be more.
Oh, that one is more less variance.
That would be more sweet. Yeah. So you have to think of that also. See, it's a sport.
See, my American-centric mind thought everyone says it with similar inflections.
No, but it's very. I mean, that's what you know, and this is what I know. And it's really hard because when I record for Overwatch, sometimes they have to be like, oh no, you have to say with this melody because I do a Swedish melody and it's so different. And they're like, oh, we're kind of losing the meaning of the words now. And for me, it's like, oh, and I had no idea. And I have to ask them a lot of times, like, do I say it da 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 or da 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 or da 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 da? Like there's a lot of different ways of saying a sentence.
I love the
like
song you're giving to us. Yes, but I hear it. Like even in our voice that we're talking right now, like there's pitches. Like you could easily mimic this on a keyboard with the discussion that we have. And so yes,
and you know that if I end it like this, it's a question. But if I ended like this, you know that I'm speaking to the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
There's a period after.
I like
So there are a lot
purple.
of ways. Huh?
Huh?
Is
Yes.
there's always like you're saying a lot with a melody with a melody
Hmm.
that you're not even thinking of.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
especially I mean obviously um if you hear another melody, you're going to want to sing, or it's not sing, well, speak that melody in your head. So
Hmm.
it's really hard to work against that. And it's hard when you've heard something spoken a certain way to go back and be like, but what's the Swedish way? Is it is it the same, or can I say it in a more Swedish way so we keep some of the Swedish in our for our children,
Yes.
for our
Yes.
future
We'll maintain
generations.
this. This is how we say it here.
Yeah. It sounds like it doesn't matter that much, but it's something you definitely think about in the studio, where it's like,
Yes.
well, you try to translate things and you try to not I'm not gonna I'm gonna say Americanize it, because a lot of the things are from the US. So you don't want to like Americanize it too much,
Mhm.
because after a while that's how the people speak. Like
Yeah.
the younger generations, they speak in a more Americanized way
Mhm.
because they consume so much American media. So with the little part that I have in it, I'm trying to like just keep it to, I don't know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Language evolves, but
Sure.
we can at least try
Well,
to keep it a little bit Swedish.
I love that you pull it out like culturally, there are certain expectations because when it's out of rhythm, when it's a different melody, it will stand out to us. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like that just helps it create, like, even within uh different regions of the US or even specific actors, like if you're
Mm,
specifically doing like a voice from someone else, like I'm even thinking like John Malkovich or Willem Dafoe, like they have such
mm.
unique rhythms in the way that they talk that makes it easy for people to spot like, oh, you're talking like them because their melody is very
Yeah.
unique to who they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And that's why it also helps a lot having a musical ear when you do voice acting or anything like that. Like it helps so much to understand what the different melodies mean. Like
Mhm.
I'm not saying you have to have a musical ear or um
I don't.
like music or be able to sing, but just it helps so much hearing the different notes and hearing like
Mhm.
hearing what this melody means versus that melody, because then you can actually use that um versus sometimes you just go by melody
Mhm.
because you can't really find it within you, and
Yeah.
the melody is enough to convey the feeling that you're trying to convey. That sounds so weird when I
I
say that
love
out
it.
loud.
You're like, we're trying, but it is. There's clear melody. Do you ever just find yourself like when you're at home or like practicing on your own separate, like just trying out different melodies or attempts to say like, how is there another voice I can pull out here? Is there something I haven't tried yet before?
I think for sure, but it's not like a conscious, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and do this. It's
Yeah.
just constant. And I love imitating people. I'm not good at it, but just speaking of the melodies, it's
Hmm.
just like I hear melody like in your lap, ta 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 ta. Like
Yes.
I hear that so vividly, and sometimes it just comes out of me. So sometimes I just mimic people, and they're just like, "Wow, rude! Did I do something weird?" It's like, no, I'm sorry, I just had to say it. Or if someone says something with like a special accent, or they
Mhm.
have a very specific, they maybe they speak very nasally, or they have a very gravelly voice,
Ooh.
and I just hear it, my brain just goes, do that, do what they did, try to can you do that, can you
Yeah.
try to do that yourself, and then I just do it out loud, and then I insult people, or I offend them. I don't mean to, I don't, it's not
But
meant to be offensive,
you're
but
being playful with it, but you're like, I hear it, I want to try to do it too. Like, how did you do it? I think that's actually an interesting way to want to understand that person because the way we talk, that's part of our presentation. Like, if I go more in this kind of gravelly, if this is how I present and I talk like this, you kind of get a sense of like my demeanor in a way. Like, it helps you get
yeah.
into my shoes a little bit more when I talk a certain way. Oh, I think that's
Yeah, but
interesting.
also imagine you saying a word a certain way and then I just say it the exact same way.
Like a little
for no
parrot.
reason. Yeah,
Like,
you'd be like, wait, sorry, what? Did I do something weird, or
yeah.
do I? Are you making fun of me?
I'm
Like
good.
that's it for me. It's very like
Yeah.
I consider it being something flattering, but they don't know that, and I don't even do it on purpose. It literally just happens. My brain just goes, do
So you're a
here,
slight
do
weirdo,
that.
is what it is. Just a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. If that wasn't already obvious, it is now. I
You were
can
hiding
confirm.
it so well. It was at
Oh
that
my
moment ago,
god.
I've got my suspicions."
Now it's confirmed. Now
Now
you
we
know
know.
for sure.
We're gonna label
Yeah.
this as, yeah, that you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
This
That should have been my intro.
that's
Hi, my name's Matilda Smedius. I'm a weirdo.
Mhm.
So
You
that's
know,
now I just think of the Riverdale, like I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in. I don't wanna fit in. Sorry.
no, I love
That's
that.
all I think about.
Please
Yeah.
don't apologize for that because that was wonderful.
He was such a pick me girl there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you know.
damn. Riverdale. How do we get here?
Well, we're talking because I imagine then you also do it off of like TV shows and other things that you're watching. Like you're sitting there and they say something
Yes.
and like, I could say that. Let's see what it's like saying that. Like trying it on as a like an outfit.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a
Yeah.
voice
It just
is.
happens.
Yes.
It's just I can't. It just it bleh, like it just comes out of me.
Yeah.
Um, it's not. There's nothing active going on. Sometimes it is, but very rarely do I mean to go just imitating something I just heard.
Hmm. I think that's
But
so
it's
fun.
also it's just weird. It's yeah.
You're just so
I'm a
committed to your
weirdo.
craft. You cannot hold back. It's second nature for you to pick up things like this.
Yeah, I really am committed to my craft. Just hearing myself talk a bit about this, I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus, calm down. But I love what I do so much. And it's very rare that you get to talk about it
Mhm.
in this way. Now I feel like I'm almost keeping everyone in prisons because I'm just like, listen to me. I want to talk about my job. It's the best thing in the world.
But people love to hear
I
it.
love it.
One, because one, you have a
That's
really
good.
cool job. But two, you also make it sound so interesting. And I love that you talk about every bit of it. Like you don't make it sound like this is this super polished, like there's the only way to do it. You're very open with your approach and how you handle it and the quirks and I just think this is very adorable, but it's also so honest. And I think that's the best part about it is that we understand who you are in this space because performance is such a personalized process at the end of the day. It's art.
Yeah, and it feels weird saying that because I feel like a lot of my Swedish colleagues would laugh if I said that I think the Swedish dubs that we do are art, but I genuinely think so. It's
Yeah.
like it's
Yes.
an art form at least. That's how I would describe it because it takes so much. It's not just. I mean, I could do it on autopilot. I could do it. I think my lowest level of effort is still pretty high, but it's not high enough, and that's not fun doing that. It's definitely an art form. Yeah, for sure. It's an art. It's an art.
It is.
Dubbing is an art. And I think the same thing with like commercial as well. Like today I did a commercial and they have so many things that you need to like remember, so many directions to go there. Like, oh, you need to focus on that word because that's the product that we want to sell,
Mhm.
and you need to sound chipper but not too energetic. And it's like that's not possible. Where do I go then? But
Yeah.
you have to do that because they are saying things and you need to do whatever they say.
Mhm.
And you want to do that because you want to get more commercials
And I think
because
that's so important,
they
right?
pay very well.
Because like when we look at commercials, it would be rude for us to say like, well, for a voice actor who's doing this or a performer, like, well, it's not art because it's for a commercial. We wouldn't go to a designer who made a beautiful social graphic that's an advertisement, be like, well, that's not art, right? Like
Yeah.
it's still the
Well, that's
process
a
in which
very
you're
good point.
conveying a message. And so I don't know why
Yeah.
when we change medium, suddenly it's like, nah, that's not the same because it
Yeah.
still takes that honed skill that you're bringing in. It still takes that, like, I understand who my audience is. I want them to get this message that I'm sending
Yeah.
across, right? That's art. That takes nuance to be able to pull across.
Yeah, that is such a good point. Yeah, that is such a good point. You
It
should
just
become a voice actor.
it just
You're like,
I feel like it's such a silly thing, but we see it. So of course, like in the U.S., we have the Super Bowl. That's our big moment. Commercials
mm,
are put on a pedestal of all times then. And I remember seeing so many at that time where we've had ones that have made us laugh, that have made us cry, that push ideas and movements, that motivate us to take action. Is that not also what
yeah.
art asks us to do? To feel things, to connect, to help us see our lives, to feel part of stories? Commercials are part of that artistic process.
Yes. Yes, I second that. Truly. And I think you're saying it in a way that I've never thought of it, but yes, for
Hmm.
sure. And like sometimes I get the question when I say I'm a voice actor and people are like, "Oh, that's really cool." So they're not being condescending, but they ask me, "Oh, but do you want to have you ever thought of being a real actor?" And they don't
Well,
yeah.
ow.
You're like, "What?" Um I'm very used to it now. But and they don't mean any offense whatsoever,
Yeah.
but that's what they think.
Ooh.
Oh, I do artwork for this social media channel, and then people would be like, oh, but do you ever want to do real art? Because that's like speaking of what you said, that's how
Yeah.
people view it.
Mm-hmm.
um but that's for sure, it's still art. Like all of those things are still art. You're still an artist, you're still creating something. And I would say especially like having direction, like it's not even coming from you, that's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes harder. Like doing exactly what someone else wants, or following another character exactly, or following a message from this big brand, like how they want to convey, or how they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
um how they want to look. You have to be really good at knowing how to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's even harder.
Yes.
Yeah, you're so
But it's
you're wise.
thank you. Ah, yes, the wise,
Ah,
no, no.
yes.
But it
Ugh,
but I think that's so important because it breaks my heart to be like, do you want to be a real actor? Or like, yes, do you want to be a real artist? As if getting paid diminishes the quality of your work because you found a way to make money off of what you do, right? Like that makes
yeah,
it seem like you have to be a starving artist for it to have value. And that's not true. I mean, the Sistine Chapel was commissioned, right? Like it's
yeah, right.
wonderful.
It was commissioned on Ko-fi, right?
Yeah, yes,
That's how it works.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. American Bank, sponsored this, and they've
Yes.
put their label on the back. But
Yes.
it's the same with it. Like it for artists, it's so important for you to get paid, and if you can find gigs that allow you to do both together, I think that is
Yes.
something that is wonderful because the idea is that you don't have to be a starving artist. You don't have to have just work that you love and that you have to sacrifice a living wage for.
Yeah. And that's going back to what I said earlier. Like, I think there are way more opportunities to make money off of the things we love doing
Mm-hmm.
in a fun way. Like, you don't want to get burned out, or you don't want to ruin that creativity because there's more pressure on it. But I think it's much more of a reality for more people than they think. And
Yes.
I meet so many people at conventions saying they want to do voice work, saying they want to be artists, like, and they have so much talent. Like you can tell instantly that they could do so well, but they just don't. They just have a fear of going out there and pursuing that, and I understand that fully. And I know it's weird coming from me who grew up into a business that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people want to get into. Um, but it's so real. Like
Yeah.
it's so real, and it's so possible
Mm-hmm.
to reach that. And I think not even trying is that's just that you've lost instantly by doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first person to say that ever, but It's true. It really is.
Yes.
And watching all my friends study now and going into jobs that they don't really love, or they do only for money, and they spend so much time there. Like they spend a majority of their everyday life there,
Mhm.
and they're just like, ugh, it's just a boring time. That's that's like not even human. Like that's, or it's not humane at least.
Mhm.
um it's crazy that this is normalized, and I'm saying again, I know that's coming from me. I grew up into a very um not normal job,
Mhm.
but I'm living that reality, and it definitely is possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just think if you do something for that much amount of time, you need to find the joy in it at least. Maybe there's not much, but there must be some, or just get a new job or find
Hopefully,
something else.
hopefully you like your coworkers. How about that?
Yes. I've always said that you need to have 2 out of 3. So you have to have, it has to be good money,
Mhm.
good coworkers, or a good pastime or good job.
Mhm.
And if you have 2 out of 3,
Mhm.
I think you can get by. So if you have enough money and good coworkers, you can do something that's not that
Mhm.
fun. Or if you have good coworkers and you do something that's fun,
Yeah.
you can do with not as much money. Or if you have good money and something that's fun, but you don't have enough fun coworkers, you can still
Make it work.
manage to do that. Yeah,
That's actually a
I
pretty
think
good rule
that's,
of thumb. 2 of 3 of those.
yeah. Because if you have 1 of 3, it's way too little, and it shouldn't be. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't have the options, but like the options are out there more than ever. Like you have so many possibilities nowadays to do something other than a 9 to 5, or I don't know, just anything that you don't want to do. There's
Yeah.
so many possibilities nowadays that at least try, at least give it a go,
Hmm. Let's
give it 2 goes.
I think you're right. And I think the challenge is people are seeing that first step as being too big to get in.
Yeah.
Let's take a little 5-minute break, but when we come back, let's talk about what those smaller steps can be, like, and how important it is for us to, while dream big, to also dream small. Both of those together is actually how we succeed.
Yes. Damn, look at us. We're like
We're smart.
entrepreneurs.
Mhm. Hers. That's
Um,
right. That's right.
yes, inspirational speakers.
We love it. All right, friends, we're going to take a few minute breaks. You go up, stretch, drink some water. We'll be back in a hot minute. Welcome back, good friends. This is Caustic Phoenix with my friend Matilda, and we are talking about all the amazing things she's done. In this first half, we're talking a lot about voice acting, what goes into it, the challenges, some of the misconceptions that we have as well, and of course, seeing it as an art form. And at the end of it, we also talked about go for it, encouraging people to pursue things that are fulfilling for them. Now, I think when some people think voice acting, they think I want to do it at a big studio, and they think that's what step one is. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa. There's a lot more voice acting gigs than just doing it for Jujutsu Kaisen, right?
Yeah.
What are actually the full breadth of, well, maybe not the full entire
Ooh.
list, but what are some maybe more opportunities that people are less aware of that can help them gain the experience that they need to help grow in this space?
Oh, I think there's actually a lot. You can do background voices for movies. I can tell you not, I don't have no idea how you do that. But a lot of people, I mean, they record that in a studio. It's not the actual people on the set speaking. It's just they are speaking, but you record it afterwards with people in a studio. And you do that in Sweden as well. When you dub something, you have to record the background voices.
Ooh.
So that's some voice work you can do. You can do internal company stuff. They have a yearly review or something. They have a big event. They have you could do stuff for nonprofits. You can do explanation videos. My mom does the voice where my brother lives. So whenever you open the door, or when the door opens, it says or she says "Välkommen in," which means welcome in. So that's a
Aw.
voice work you can do. It's crazy. You could do I think it's still a thing, but I think with AI it's going to be less and less. But you could do phone services where it's press 1 to do that, press 2, stuff like that. That's
Yes.
also a voice work. There's so many things. You could go on Fiverr.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you have a good mic at home, you could go on Fiverr and you could just upload an account, and you could be like, hey, I'm a professional narrator. Who's
Mhm.
gonna know?
Yeah.
Who's gonna know? If they think your voice sounds good, then they're gonna take you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're cheap enough, because you can't take that much there.
Yeah.
Me and my brother actually bought our mom, because she just turned 60. So we bought her for her 60th a trip to Scotland, because she's always wanted to go there.
Ooh.
Yes, very nice. I'm very excited about that, because I mean we're going with her.
Yeah.
So I'm basically giving myself a
Yeah.
vacation.
It's a gift for her, for us.
Yes. But she's always said it just feels like in a past life or something she lived there. She just feels very connected to it. She's not a spiritual person, but she feels so connected to the Scottish, the what do you even call it? With the grass and the hills and everything.
Yeah.
She feels so connected
Aw.
to it. But we bought her that, and we made a commercial for Annika Airlines, because her name is Annika, and we got on Fiverr and we got a Scottish guy to do the narration for it. And I have no idea what he does,
Yeah.
but we used it for that, and he was great, and he did it so fast, which was actually crazy. That's it, the
Just
day
the
after we
turnaround.
had the narration.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you can do that. It's so easy. Just if you have a microphone, you can do that. And honestly, microphones are easier and easier to come by. All of it, this is just getting easier and easier, all these
Yeah.
possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of different voice works, and I have not done, the only English work I've ever done is for Overwatch, which is crazy. I never even thought that would be a possibility.
Yes.
Ever in my entire life would I think that I would be a voice in an original voice in a game. I could probably dub a game, but we don't dub any cool stuff in Sweden usually. It's just kid shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy, but I never thought that would be possible, and here I am now, and I don't even live in the US, and that's where they usually do the recordings.
Yes.
But yeah, no, there are a lot of things you can do, and even as someone who's established, just a couple years ago I started doing commercials. I'd never done it before that. I I mean, maybe I was too young, but still, like, I hadn't done any commercials, and then now all of a sudden I do it pretty regularly for
Mhm.
different brands and stuff like that. And right now I'm dubbing a game, which is going to be actually a lot of fun that
Mhm.
I can't say anything about.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but I'm probably going to play it on my Twitch. So
Well,
I hope
I'll
it
come
goes
over
quick.
and
I hope it
watch.
gets out soon. Yeah. But yeah, so you can dub games, you can do anything. You can do like local stuff. Like you can ask, because I feel like in the US you still have like local TV channels
Oh,
or like
yes.
local commercials.
Yeah.
We don't have that even close to like the same way you do. You can do that for
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Just let people know that you want to do voice work.
Yeah.
Be open about that. Like open yourself up to all the possibilities. There's so much to do. People need voices. And
Mhm.
honestly, with AI being bigger and bigger, let's just prove to the AI people that the AI can do
What we do.
as good of a job as we
Mhm.
can.
Yep. Back
I
away.
want to say that. Saying that, I'm still scared that it can, but
I
I want to
know.
say that it can't.
Yes.
Human is better than a robot, I think.
Yes. Well, and it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, and it is a little heartbreaking that as AI comes and as technology evolves, why is it coming for the arts?
Yes. Why?
Go elsewhere,
Why?
please.
It's so it's such a dumb decision, and I feel like it comes from the people in charge of AI, because those are the people who probably are like,
Mhm.
well, these are the things that we don't want to spend money on.
Yeah.
Why do we want to spend money on an artist that takes like 2 weeks to do something
Yeah.
when I could just like put in a prompt and I have it now?
Mhm.
Or like, oh, I want a jingle, but it takes so long. And musicians are hard to work with. They don't want to pay for that.
Mhm.
So that's why we've gone into that direction, but it's so sad.
It is.
It's like that someone wrote like, I want AI to do my laundry, not do art for me.
Yes. Yes.
Um
Come clean my
but yeah.
house. Please don't. Yeah.
Yeah, get me a cleaning robot, please.
Yes. Yes. I guess that's the Roomba, isn't it?
Oh yeah. But make the Roomba stand up and
Yes.
also take the dust off of all the counters and everything. Oh,
Yes.
that would be
Yes.
so lovely.
We'll work on the
That would be
steps
so lovely.
there. But the idea is
Yes.
that the arts get to belong to us as humans. That
Yeah.
as it takes, responsibilities in other spaces, that ideally then it frees up individuals to become more artists, to appreciate who we are and what we've created as lifestyles. I think that's
Yeah.
we have high hopes, don't we?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Ah.
But a lot of the people, at least in Sweden, a lot of colleagues that I've talked about, they think that AI is not going to replace like the bigger shows or the bigger productions.
Mhm.
It will most likely replace the smaller ones. So, unfortunately, most of those additional voice jobs that I just listed
Yeah.
are probably the ones affected, like
Dang.
local businesses or internal company videos or phone things. I mean, they're already have generated from a sample voice. Like uh, most likely, those jobs will be um, in risk with AI.
Mhm.
But most of the fun jobs or the more fun jobs are probably not going to be.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that you can actually put effort in. And maybe there will be more money to put into those jobs.
Yeah.
Hoping.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Probably not, because we live in a society where everything has to build value constantly.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fine. It's
that's fine. It's
fine.
fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but it's fine. This is fine. We say sitting in a burning building.
Yes.
It's a weird subject to speak about because you never know. But I think I'm just trying to be hopeful. And obviously, I'm trying to find maybe some other sources of income or other stuff to do to fill out my time more, because
Mhm.
I am seeing it as a risk. So I started Twitch streaming, which I've also always wanted to do, and I never dared to. But now I do that, and now that's an extra source of income, and no one else can do that. Can we? AI can't do that, right? Like they're not going to be able to do this, what we're doing right now.
It's kind of trying.
Oh,
I'm sorry to say
well,
that.
well,
Right? Because that's a hard thing.
it'll, yeah,
The biggest question when we look at this is how good is AI at being human?
yeah.
Because if it can take our art, is that what makes us human?
Yeah.
This was a much harder question than I thought I was going to pose. Oh, man.
Yeah, but like, yeah,
Yes.
that's a good question.
Because I assume we wouldn't see ourselves as, we're just worker bees. We go through the motions. We see ourselves as being relational. We see ourselves as being expressive. We see ourselves as being more than just a job title. And if AI can do that,
what are we?
what are we? Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe that leaves more time for actual real life experiences.
Yes.
Maybe AI won't make you not want to do art. Because I'm not less inclined to do voices or to act. I might lose some money, but I'm not less inclined to do those things. I'm not less inclined to sing because there are AI voices.
That's right.
And I'm not less inclined to write music because there's AI writing music. So maybe there are more real life experiences to be had, and maybe some time is going to be saved for people to do real stuff. Because I mean, most of us are on our phone.
Yeah.
Like all the time anyway.
I feel ratted out right now.
But that's how it is. Like you have to actively try not to be on your phone. Like I have so many things. I have a little jar of like notes with things to do with like high effort, medium effort, and low effort. And just to have that instead, I started doing puzzles. I do a lot of crosswords, love crosswords. Or just going for a walk, like all of those things, just instead of sitting on my phone. And I still sit on my phone so much, like so much.
It's so easy because you can hold it in your hand and go anywhere with it.
Yes. And it's always at least dopamine inducing.
Yes.
I'm not going to say fun. It's not always fun, but it's always at least dopamine infusing. So
it's a good distinction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, it doesn't diminish who we are. I mean, and I think this comes and says a lot because earlier, of course, you mentioned like you're competitive, but you have the right approach that you're not competitive against others. That also means like you're not competitive with AI, you're competitive with yourself. And that way, when you do things, it doesn't matter what else is going on. It doesn't diminish what you have created as an artist.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm saying all of these things coming out of therapy. So I haven't always been in this mindset. Yeah. I want to make that very clear that I've just recently learned these things and it has revolutionized my life. But yes, for sure, I think that's, wow, I'm like moving around.
Yeah, do it.
For sure, I think that's the right, my English is not doing it for me today. The right mindset, there we go. Yes. The right mindset to just compete with yourself or to see the positives or to at least try so you don't immediately lose by not trying.
Yes.
Like all of those things are for me so like anxiety coded, like so depression coded, where it's like, oh, I'm not even going to try because I might fail.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm not even going to think that I'm good because what if someone else doesn't think that? Or I'm not even going to try to be better because what if it doesn't matter?
Yeah.
But like it does matter.
It does.
Yeah, it does. I know. Okay. But like it does so much. I truly feel like I feel like I'm like I feel like I'm preaching almost, but it feels so liberating to just have let go of that. Like, not fully. Of course, I have doubts and I still get anxious,
Mhm.
but like, it's not overtaking me in the
Mhm.
same way it used to. It's not like I'm not feeling as paralyzed by it. Oh, my
Yes.
camera
Just
decided to.
refocus there for a hot second.
Yeah. I'm not feeling as paralyzed, and I still get paralysis. I'm still sitting on my couch doing nothing. Like, it's not like that, but
Yeah.
it's just a mindset, or it's just the forgiveness of yourself. Like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, one of those days. Oh, okay, I guess
Yeah.
that's how it went today.
We
Hope
end
I
up
do better tomorrow.
Yeah. Instead of just treading, though, that we give ourselves the ability to move forward, to act on our behalf of what's going to be good for
Yeah,
us. I think that's hard.
exactly.
I'm glad you bring this up because one, I love the optimism that you bring because it's so easy for many of us, phone doom scrollers that we are. We find ourselves in front of that screen so many times, and our world is
Yeah.
so big right now where we see so many
Yes.
things going on and we're dealing with all of them. And then we have the idea of like AI coming in. Is it going to take our jobs? Am I going to be able to pay for things?
Yep.
And it
Yep.
compounds, and it's easy to get into that paralysis when you go, do I
Hmm.
matter? And
Yeah.
especially when we look at it externally for external sources to validate us. Am I going to matter
Yep.
in this world? If what I do, is it going to impact these big things that I'm seeing on my phone, on Twitter, on Instagram? And
Yeah.
it's so overwhelming. Now, I know off screen we've talked a little bit about like, and we've mentioned this a few times, like therapy, right? But being able, whether it's with a therapist or finding yourself in a good mental health position, whatever that looks like, is so important these days because it impacts, all right, who you are, how you see the world, and the art that you produce from that. I mean, I love that
Yeah.
you've come into this interview with such energy, such a positivity. It's addicting. This is a virus I want. Like give me what you have. But I appreciate it because you've gone through that work. Because you've mentioned like you haven't always been like this, and it ebbs and flows. It's not always perfect, but you go through
No.
the work to find and put yourself in that place, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But that's not easy, though.
Thank you. It's not. No, it's super hard. And
Mhm.
I remember in the beginning starting to talk to my therapist.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, people have said to me for so many years that I should do this, that I should go talk to someone. And I thought so too, but I was like, what are they going to say? I know what's wrong. Like, I know what I should do differently.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to impact me in any way?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you have someone that you come back to, I went every week, like every Monday, I went to therapy. Now
Mm-hmm.
I've gone down to every other week, and I think I'm gonna actually finish for the summer, like, and we'll see from there. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't go back in a while, at least. But I went there every week, and I have someone that I'm accountable. I have to stand accountable for them, and I'm also taking everything that's in here that
Mm-hmm.
seems logical and reasonable, putting it out in the open, looking through it and being like, this is dumb. I'm dumb.
That's not what
And
I was
in no
expecting.
way, no, in no way am I like bashing on myself,
Yeah.
but this is dumb. I'm smarter than this. Like, it's
Yes.
more that. I'm smarter than this. What is this? What is this pile of garbage doing in my head? And how am I thinking that it's reasonable or logical or rational or anything? um and that's what I think therapy does, because that's it. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
makes you have, I mean, you have to go in there and be honest. That's the hard part. You have to be
Yeah.
like fully honest, and that is hard, and it takes a while, like, to not just say the things that you think they want to hear. I did like a trauma therapy thing. I still haven't told my therapist that I didn't think it was the right thing for me, and that I didn't feel like it worked that well.
Yeah.
Like, I still haven't told her that because she's a person and I don't want to make her feel bad. So it is hard.
Yes.
It's not you can't always view it as like, this
Mm-hmm.
person is someone I'm paying to listen to me.
Yeah.
So I don't have to say, how are you? Like, oh, I'm good, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
I just have to say, oh, I'm good, or oh, I'm bad, I've been thinking about this. Like, it's a one-way conversation pretty
Mm-hmm.
much.
Mm-hmm.
And that is hard to get through. But just going there and learning how to be open about everything and just putting it out there, like it's so revolutionizing. And in the beginning you're like, okay, but what is this going to do? So I put everything in the open, and none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
So why am I thinking this thing? So you're talking
Yes.
about why these thoughts have come to you. Like, when did they come into your life? Like,
Ooh.
what purpose did they serve?
Mm-hmm.
And and what made your brain save it, like, as a setting?
Yeah.
um and so you learn, like, oh, actually I've been thinking this way my entire life, or oh, actually I remember starting high school, and that's when this started. Like, that's when I started thinking in that way, or having this perspective. Like, you learn all these things, and that makes it so much easier to handle, because first of all, you understand the origin. That helps me a
Yes.
lot. I just need to understand. I hate
Yes.
when I don't understand.
Like, where did this
But
come
second
from?
of all, yeah. But second of all, when it's like, oh, I remember being like really young and having anxiety, and I called it a bad how do I translate this? I called it like a bad tummy feeling. Like,
Yes.
I had a bad feeling in my tummy.
Yeah. We recode
Yeah,
it.
a bad tummy feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
But that was anxiety. And I was
Yes.
like 6.
Oh.
Um
Now you
but
have the
so when
words
you
for it. It's so different.
yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was just, I just had this weird feeling in my tummy. It didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And when you look back on that, instead of being like, oh, I'm so annoying, why do I get anxious over this, or why do I think this way, ugh, you see the child that was impacted in some way that made you think that way, or you see the teenager impacted in a way, or you just see the past you that you always have much more grace for, and much more, you're so much more patient with your older self.
Yeah.
And you see that, you feel bad, and you realize, oh, but that's me now too. So I can actually feel bad for myself and do better for that self, and for now me self,
Mm-hmm. Me.
words. But
Yes.
you also you get compassion for yourself,
Ooh.
which you probably don't have if you feel anxious, because you work on the outside in. And then after that, you start behaving differently. And you have to do that, because you're coming back to someone every week or every other week,
Mm-hmm.
telling them, oh, this thing happened. They're like, oh, how did you react? And you say, oh, I did this thing. And they're like, oh, so, and how did that make you feel? Bad. Oh,
Yes.
okay, how did you wish you would act it? Oh, this way. They're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back a few weeks after, and you're like, this thing happened. They were like, how did you react? And you're like, actually, I tried it this way. And they were like, oh, and how did that feel? Actually, good.
Yes.
And then all of these like small things just like
They
starts
piece
being
together.
implemented. And yeah,
But it
I
helps to have
sound
someone to
like
help
I'm
calibrate.
preaching.
Yeah. But it's
But
hard
yes,
because we've
yeah,
woven these roads that don't lead
yeah,
us to who we want to be. Right? It's the
yeah,
anxious side, it's the self-doubting side, it's the overwhelmed
yeah,
side, it's the parallel side. But we go back to that again and again because it's the only road we know. You know, especially as
yeah,
many of us we're surviving, right? We're trying to get through. We're always going from one project to another or one event to another, and so we default to the same
yeah,
pathways. You know, having somebody else help challenge you and push you when you start carving new pathways will let you know not only, yes, that you are carving a new pathway, but to help guide you to make that pathway healthy and not that it's going down to another negative place. You know,
yes,
change isn't always good,
exactly.
but it's how do we make the right changes that are going to be for you, and having that conversation, because all that, I love that you described it as garbage. And that
Yeah,
garbage is so much bigger when it's kept in our small brains. Not that we have tiny brains, but you
yes,
know, like this is a small
yes,
space, and when you pull it out, it's not as big because it's not in such a tiny container anymore. We can
yeah.
look at
And it
it.
doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm a smart person,
Yes.
and this thing was inside me, and it does not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yes.
does not make sense.
Like we would know to
And you
say to
can
someone
like,
else, like, you shouldn't say those things about you,
yes,
right? And yet here we are.
yes, yeah. It's so crazy. But like, therapy, wow. It's chef's kiss. It's so nice. I'm not like healed, or like, oh, like I wasn't broken, but like I'm not like
These
the
are
perfect
maintenance
person. I don't do
checks.
things perfectly.
Yeah.
But like my lowest is so much higher. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like a I can trust my gut with things,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a sense of direction, and I am forgiving of myself, and I'm giving myself leeway, and I'm, wanting the best for myself. I'm not even looking as much for like confirmation from others anymore. Like, I've realized sometimes when you bring up a problem with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I'm thinking this way, and they're like, no, don't think that way. You're actually just learning better how to argue for the bad way that you're thinking, because you're
Yeah.
like having a discussion, and you're
Yes.
arguing for the thing instead of against the thing.
Uh-huh.
So now if I feel something, I can like go into myself and be like, okay, let's clear this out. You're afraid that you said this thing, and now these 5 people hate you. Okay, so who are these 5 people? This person, okay, that's your, okay, does it matter if he doesn't like you? Not really. Do you think he doesn't like you? I don't know. Has he said he doesn't like you? No. And who are you to assume what someone else thinks of you? Oh, actually,
Ooh.
that makes sense. And you go through that, and then you
Here we
come out
are
of it, you're
creating
like,
stories for
"Hmm,
other people.
yes, so, which is so rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they
But
are
we're
their own person.
storytellers. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a break,
Yeah,
okay? Right?
it's
Like,
art.
it's
It's
art.
art.
We're just
Yeah,
creating ourselves into a tiny box for art.
yeah. But I thought for sure if I didn't have as much anxiety, that
Mhm.
I would be a worse person. I wouldn't be relatable. I would
Mhm.
be boring. I thought all these things, and I don't feel that way now. That was just anxiety speaking, wanting
Yeah.
to like, please don't let go of me.
Yeah.
Like, that's just crazy. Yeah, I just hope, and I hope someone watching knows or can relate to being like, I know what I'm doing wrong, and I know what I should do instead, but I just don't do it. I hope they can relate to to that feeling of like, oh, but I'll be a worse person if I'm happy, or I'll be boring, or I'll be not relatable, or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
I hope someone can relate to that, because I'm now on the other side saying it really isn't true. That's just anxiety
Yeah.
trying to cling on to the power that it has over you.
Don't be content
It
being
really.
miserable. You deserve
Yes.
better.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
And it's so much fun just being, it's so much fun waking up and being more happy.
Mhm.
I feel like I sound almost manic, but I swear to God, I'm pretty chill.
You're in a
But
moment. Like when you said that, I was like, I imagine you at a
yes,
beach just like having the ocean spray on your face. Like it's the
I-
best.
yeah, I have my like mermaid moment
Yes,
like that.
yes. But everyone should get
Yeah,
that moment. That's the thing. Like
for sure.
I hope when people are watching this that they don't see you and go, that's so strange to me. I don't know what that feels like because that's
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
yeah. But I know that. I know that because I was there too. And I just
Mhm.
thought, like, oh, I guess just happiness isn't for me. I
Yeah.
can be happy. I can see a dog and I get so happy. I can see a cat and I get like, like,
Cute.
I just feel happier.
Hmm.
Um, but I didn't have that. I wasn't grounded.
Yeah.
So happiness to me isn't being happy all the time. It's just being grounded and
Mm.
being feeling safe
Mm.
and like
Ooh.
calm
Mm.
and strong. Like, I can be mad now or angry.
Hmm.
I couldn't be that earlier. I didn't know how to.
Yeah.
I was like, that's mean. You can't be angry at someone. That's mean. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You can be angry and still be a reasonable person. Yeah, I obviously have so much to say, but to go back to what what is probably most important in this is when it comes to voice acting or art,
Yes.
just go for it. There's nothing there's nothing else to do than just go for it. Just do the stuff.
Hmm.
Oh, you're good at doing the stuff, do the stuff.
Yeah.
Show people that you do the stuff. Tell people you want to do the stuff. Um, upload the stuff.
Hmm.
Show it to people on the street. Do it on the street. Do the stuff on the street. That sounds like drugs.
Yeah, that
That's not what I
sounded.
mean. Yeah,
We get what you're
that
saying
sounds.
though. Like put your work
Yeah.
out there,
Yes.
but don't do drugs on the street, friends.
Don't do drugs. Stay in
That's
school.
not the
Stay in
same.
school.
Yeah, yeah. But I love this because this comes from a place to be like, if you want to do your art, you first have to take care of yourself. You are that palette, whether it is voice acting, whether it is paint in hand, whether it is, anything and everything. You're designing
Yeah,
a video game, you're leading a project. You will always do it better if you are the best version of you.
for sure. 100%. And I think in my time earlier, I wasn't happy, and the only thing I had was my voice acting that I thought, actually, this is something I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
But then too much relied on that because
Mm-hmm.
that was the only thing I had. So I wouldn't dare trying to go outside the box or think outside the box and reach out to this studio or to tell someone, oh, I want to do this kind of work. Like I wouldn't have dared to do so because I felt such bad imposter syndrome because everything was relying on this. And what if it wasn't real?
Yeah.
Like, but it is. And now I'm standing here and I feel grounded and I feel happy and calm
Mm-hmm.
and strong. And now I can fail and it's not that big of a deal anymore. And I've even gotten like, yeah, I'm a co-owner of an esports team. I never thought I would say that. That's crazy to
That
me.
is so
And that
wild.
is, it's so weird.
Yeah.
But I would like just a year ago, I wouldn't have said yes to that.
Yeah.
Not like a year ago, I would say not in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
That's too scary.
Yeah.
I could never do that. What are people going to think?
Yeah.
What if I fail?
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, yeah, what if I fail?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
I love that.
Like, what is the worst that can happen? And how, like, sometimes you get so scared because it's like a big organization and you have players representing you and you have
Yeah.
other people on the team representing you.
You've got a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah. But mostly a lot of decisions I can't make for people. So they represent me
Mm.
and I represent them, obviously. I mean, it goes both ways. But obviously anxiety is about thinking about me and thinking about like, oh, how this affect me. But I can still get that anxiety. I can still be like, what if someone turns out to be a huge jackass? And they screw me over? Or what if someone says something really inappropriate online? Or what if one of the players just, I don't know, says some slurs in a game? Like, what if that happened? That reflects badly on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always going to be a concern, obviously, because I can't control other people.
Yes.
But I can also trust in people
Mm-hmm.
in a weird new way where it's like, well, most likely they won't do that.
Yeah.
Most likely they'll be like reasonable people.
Yes.
Like we don't have to agree on everything, but
Mm-hmm.
most likely they will be reasonable people and not say anything bad or like do anything that would harm anyone else or anything. I mean, we have a good organization, so I know that my fears are coming just from anxiety and not from anything real.
Mm-hmm.
But even like, no, it's just.
But even if you
most
have those
likely they won't
fears,
do that.
they're not paralyzing, right?
No,
Like-
you still do the thing.
Yes, because if
'Cause I
businesses
wanna
were
do the thing.
paralyzed at any of that, like, well, we'll never hire anyone because everyone is risky,
Yeah.
right? People are
Yes.
risky, but knowing that
Yeah.
now allows you to say, okay, I recognize this. How do I want to handle it if something like this were happening? Because you are
Exactly.
grounded, you can now address those fears. You can now navigate those situations, whatever
Yeah.
happens to come up, which hopefully nothing will. Most
No.
likely won't. Like
I
the
hope
odds
so.
are, like when
I
we see
really
these
hope
things,
so.
a majority of people are really good, kind people that are just trying to have fun and doing what they do.
Yeah.
Um,
And we have a lot of good people. Like we have
Yes.
so many nice people and so many people who are just passionate. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, we're not a big organization and we're not like most of the other teams in the same tiers. Like
yeah.
a lot of people have like big sponsorships or they have, I don't know who, but they have money
Mhm.
flowing through to everyone. We are based on passion
Mm.
and passion alone, pretty much. So, I mean, the people that we work with are just so good. Like, yeah, it's literally just anxiety making me scared anytime. But
I want to dive into this real quick because I think it's interesting. you open, like, being grounded, it's opened more doors for you, more chances for you to say yes to things. What was
Yeah.
that like when someone said, "Hey, esports, what are you thinking?" And you're like, "Let's do this." You know, because that's a big jump just to go like, "Let's own something. Let's put a
Hmm.
team together." Because that's top. Like some people are like, "We're gonna start small. I'm gonna be part of team. I'm gonna be like part of team." And you're like, "Let's go big." What was that
Yeah.
approach like?
I mean, it was really strange, but going from the perspective of being grounded,
Mm-hmm.
I felt so much more comfortable being like, okay, I felt comfortable asking all the questions that I felt that I need to ask.
Yeah.
I felt comfortable setting boundaries, being like, I can't do that. And I don't have time to do these things, but I can be this for the organization, or I can do that. I can be this kind of director. I can be this kind of boss. Ugh, I hate that. I don't like that. But you understand, um, like I felt so much more comfortable saying all these things, like, oh, actually, I don't want to say yes to this unless these are the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was really scary, and I still think it's scary.
Yeah.
It's but it feels exciting too. Like it's exciting building something. It's exciting building something. It's exciting to get to know these people. It's exciting to learn how to own an esports team. It's exciting to learn about esports. Like I said, I don't like sports. The only sports I've ever liked watching is esports.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I don't know why, but it's just so much more exciting. I hate sports. I hate it like passionately. I'm like
Sorry to all the
actively
athletes out there.
uninterested. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I hate it.
Yeah.
You can love it if you want. I'm happy for you. But I think it just sucks. People running after a ball. I don't know. Not my thing. But little cars going after a ball in Rocket League, for sure.
The best
So much
thing
more
ever.
interesting. Yeah. And watching Overwatch, like that's a game I know how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I watch these people do it, and they're so much better than me. Like that's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like with competing with myself and getting better at stuff. That's just like, oh, how do they do that? Oh,
Yeah.
they do that. Okay.
You have
Oh,
an
and when they play
appreciation
this
for the
character, they can do
skill.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You
In a
know
way
that
that I
it's
don't feel for
difficult.
sports.
Yeah.
I like that people do it. I'm not judging anyone.
Just
I just
you
hate it.
do it. You just do it
I
over there.
Yeah, I just loathe it, but you can keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So it felt very exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like a cool step in my career. Like
Yes.
I have this thing attached to me. I have I'm almost like pointing at it, but like all these things behind you can barely see them. But I have so many like Overwatch things in my bookcase behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even covering it with my balloon. But I
How dare you
have
hide it from us? Oh, there we go. Yes.
there we have a little
Yeah.
brig pillow.
Yes.
Oh, and the balloons came down. But like I have this thing attached to me,
Yeah.
and I've always been like up for like any charity thing. I've said yes to all of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
just let me use this thing for good. I don't know what to do with it,
Yes.
but let me use this, all the followers I have,
Mm-hmm.
this thing attached to me. Let me use that for good. And then I mean, this organization to me feels like, oh, this is the next step.
Yeah.
Like I'm still doing charity things. It's not like that's ending.
Yeah.
But this is like, oh, I can actually use my name and my brand or whatever
Mm-hmm.
for this. Like this is something I want to support. This is something I want to do. Also, so cool to own an esports team. I sound so cool saying that.
Yes.
Like I can't even like younger me.
You're going to own
I
a
don't
team.
even know what
Yeah.
like I don't even know what she would say. She would freak out, or she would just be like, who are you and how did you get this information? Also, get out of my house.
You are
But yeah,
terrifying
no.
me.
You are terrifying me, so please leave.
Yes.
It's just Actually, stranger danger, so get
Yeah.
away from
Yeah, that's smart kid.
No, but like it just felt like the right step, and to just use this thing. I'm still confused. Like I think I've had so many people tell me to oh, what's the expression? I only know it in Swedish. It's very similar to the English one. To smith while the iron is hot. To
Oh, hit while the iron's hot. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
People
I
have
don't
said
know.
that
I
to
could
me
be
so
making it up
much.
too.
People get what we're trying to
Yes,
say. That's the most important part.
exactly.
But so many people have said that, and I've just been like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to use it for. I don't know
Mhm.
anything. I just had this Instagram with 30,000 followers, and I didn't know what to do with it. So yeah, this feels nice.
Yeah.
And the same thing with my Twitch. Like I'm starting not from zero.
Mhm.
Very privileged to have that.
Yeah.
I haven't had to go through the devastating grind of streaming in front of zero people. Like
Mhm.
I think that's so admirable that people go through that and then not stop, like not give up. But I can use that to get a new platform, and then I can use that new platform
Yeah.
to support other things that I want to put my name on, or other things that I want to just
Keep
give
going.
shine light to. It's like I have a lamp toward a spotlight on me,
Yeah.
and so I'll just move to like
You're like, come
next
in
to
here with
things.
me. You're like, you're bringing somebody
Yeah,
else in.
that's what it feels like, because I don't know what to do with the spotlight.
Yeah.
I like the spotlight. I love the spotlight. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but I don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect thing to do with it. It's like I have this esports team filled with people
Mhm.
who are so passionate, who just wants the best for the players, who are not focused on like on anything.
Yeah.
They're focused on the important things, which is like having fun,
Mhm.
taking care of the players, making sure people are being treated in the right way. Like
Ooh.
just the process of going through things. I don't
Well,
actually, we have
let me hone
things
this in a little
to
bit.
be an yes.
Because I want to be respectful of your time, but I think this is a good way to think, like, as we move forward for your team. Because I love that you're like, you care for them. I can tell. Like, you see them as human beings. You want to invest in them. You want to give them opportunities. And I love that you said, like, this is built on the foundation of passion. And knowing that, what does success for your esports team look like for you? When you know you're like,
Oh
we've
wow.
done this well, I am happy where we have taken this. Because what that outcome looks like
Yeah.
looks so differently for different esports teams at different levels and different games.
Yeah,
And I don't know, what
for
does that
sure.
look like for you? When you look at your team, you're like, I'm proud that this is the team that we have created.
Well, I do want my team to be paid.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah.
that would actually be a very big success.
Mhm.
Even though money is not the focus, and we're not trying to come out of it as millionaires, but I want the people working to be paid for the working, obviously.
It's very reasonable.
But I think, I mean, with the other co-owners, I think, honestly, I think we have more like bigger plans in mind than just this team.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say too much, but
Fair.
these are some like really, I'm gonna say passionate a lot, but really passionate, and how do you say? I can't even think of the ambitious. They're ambitious.
Yes.
And they have the heart in the right place. These people are ambitious and have the heart in the right place. So they are, what I feel like is I'm just like, okay, I use me to get your word out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
they're hungry for change. They've got a vision.
Yes.
And you're like, I buy into this. I love this. Let's move forward. I think that's the right take, right? Like you're investing.
I think the success would be in them reaching their full potential. Because to me, I love being a part of this team. I love being a part of it, but I have also told them like what my role in it can be, and what I'm willing to learn a lot of things, but some things I've told them that I don't have time to be this for the team or be that for the team. I can do these things. And I feel like my main goal, and they're probably going to say no, Matilda, stop saying this. You're an asset. And I know they're going to say that, but how I view it is definitely for me to just make their vision come to life. And then I love being in there and brainstorming. I love solving issues. I could do like HR. I love that. I love mediating between people. But I feel like my biggest thing is to make their visions come true. And I want this thing to grow and become bigger.
Yes.
So we can pay people. And so we can reach more people. And to keep the values that we have right now.
Yeah.
Because just hearing the way they're talking about things or the process, like, oh, we can't work with that. I don't want to say too much because we have announcements coming up, but
listen, no,
they're
don't
so thorough. Yeah, they're so thorough, and they're so like.
Yes, it's more than just winning games,
so
though,
thorough.
and I think that's the most important part. Like, you see this is not just a singular team. You and the other co-owners, you and the players, right? You aren't just seeing this as like, we just have to win games. You're seeing this as, we're going to change the standards of what esports looks like. We're changing the standards of how teams work and what we consider good. I'm excited about this. I'm not going to push you to reveal anything, but this actually segues perfectly. Because honestly, I'm excited to hear these announcements. So you need to give us every single way in which we can follow both you and your team to make sure that we're cheering on, we're catching these announcements, we're supporting, we're showing up to those Twitch streams. You get it. Let us know. So where can we find you? Where can we find your team? Plug us. All of it.
You can find the team basically. I want to say anywhere, but that's not true. But you can find the team on Twitter and on Twitch at Exoblivione. It might be Exoblivione OW. I'm actually not sure, and I'm such a bad director for not knowing this.
We'll have it correct in the Twitch chat. Don't worry. And if you're on YouTube, we'll have it down in the description for y'all.
Perfect. But we do have a Twitch, and all the money coming in from the subs from our Twitch are going towards a charity, and you can go to the Twitch to find out which charity that is. And if that's something you want to support, please do. Incredible idea from one of the co-owners. You can also find me on Twitch and Instagram and Twitter. I barely use Twitter. I don't like Twitter. But you can find me basically anywhere. Can I even? Yeah. There we go.
It'll be in the Twitch
at
title
Smedius. Yeah. You can find me anywhere. And I haven't even talked about, my brother's going to be so mad at me. I haven't even talked about my YouTube channel with my brother that I have.
Talk about it. Talk about it right now. Give us the spiel. Go.
It's me and my brother. And we have videos where we play games, but we also have videos where we're out and about doing literally whatever. My brother is such a good editor.
Okay.
He's been editing. He's self-taught since the age of, I think, 10, sitting in Sweden with English programs, just trying to figure out what button does what. And if I click there, what happens? He's so talented. And we created a YouTube channel a year and a half ago. Is it 2.5 years?
Listen, we don't understand how time goes. Don't worry about that.
Is it 2.5 years? No, it can't be. I'm not.
It's 2024, sure. If that helps.
Yeah, I was literally looking at my computer being like,
yeah,
how does this go together? It was just a couple years ago anyway.
Yeah.
We are competing right now with a friend of ours, a Swedish voice actor, to hit 10,000 subscribers. So please,
let's go.
Please go on to youtube.com/@thesmedlings, Smedius siblings, the Smedlings. Also very good name by my brother. And please subscribe so we can rub it in our friend Christian's face. And I'm not even going to say his ad because I don't want you subscribing to
Yeah, don't go over there.
No, subscribe to us. And if you want to be a voice actor, go to iwannabeavoiceactor.com, or is it howtobeavoiceactor.com? D. Bradley Baker has a website. It tells you everything. So go read that and then do the stuff.
Perfect.
Do the stuff. You're good at doing the stuff. Do the stuff. That's
I love it.
My final words.
This has been the inspirational take. Good friends, there's been so much to help push and inspire you this week. I hope that you take it. Do the stuff that you need to do to put yourself in the position to be the best you. Wherever that is, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, may it be good and fulfilling for who you are. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us, bringing your energy, showcasing us. And I feel like we barely scratched the surface because we're like at the very end, like squishing everything else in. We absolutely have to have you come back sometimes where we can talk about everything else and all the amazing things that you're doing.
Maybe talk about Overwatch. I don't know. It's just a tiny game that I was a part of.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's some gamers know of it. So
it's growing in popularity from what I hear.
Oh yeah.
But
I wish.
You're amazing, and the true storyline is just knowing who you are, the many things that you do, and most importantly, why you do it, what motivates you. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. Good friends, thank you for coming in. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all next week for another episode of Pink Pixels. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. You disappeared there for me.
Oh, I froze for a second. We're fine. Now we're officially leaving. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone.